the shore, relentless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Emotions. Emotions are a major part of our subjective experience. A major part, wouldn't you agree, of our first person perspective. Our subjective consciousness, as we like to say over here. And as we know, our subjective consciousness consists of feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Emotions mainly reside in the feeling aspect. We feel disgust, anger, sadness. We feel. And in this series, of which this is part 5, we've been talking about how to develop concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. How to master the space of subjective consciousness. How to master feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. How to develop these capacities. And it should be obvious to us that in our journey towards self-mastery, how can we talk about self-mastery without actually addressing this one major component, this one very, very important component called emotions? Many people have many things to say about it. Many people say things like, you must control your emotions. You must not let your emotions control
you. You must express your emotions. Do not suppress your emotions. But we will not control our emotions. We will gain mastery over our emotions. Mastery will be gained by separation. Separation will be attained by observation. Observation does not mean running away, but rather running directly towards the emotions. Being clear, exactly clear. Gaining sensory clarity, practicing concentration upon it. Opening our eyes and looking directly into the abyss. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ike. Welcome to my channel. I'm your host over here. My name is Ike Gammon again, and this is the Ike Gammon channel. For now, until we decide to call it something else, which is unlikely. It is unlikely we'll call it something else. And over here, we talk about being better and doing better with a strong emphasis on doing. And what are we doing today? Today, we are continuing on our journey, our lifelong journey of self-mastery, a mastery of subjective consciousness, mastery of feelings in the body and thoughts in the head. Your subjective consciousness, your first-person perspective, your experience can be broken into 3 parts: feeling, image, and talk. This is part 5 of the How to Meditate series. Shout out to Chaos Rain in the house. Shout out to Smooth in the house. Shout out to Mr. Ray Hanna in the house. Shout out to Smooth and Dr. Thunder. Shout out to Terrence. Welcome. Always a pleasure to see you guys. Let me get a 1 in the chat. Let me get a 1 in the chat if we understand that basically we are going to master emotions, not by controlling them, not by suppressing them, but by observing them. We don't control, we do not suppress, we do not evade, we observe. And observation, by definition, is creating a separation. Creating a separation between the experience and the observer of the experience. That is the entire trick, ladies and gentlemen. It is that simple. Intuitively, we know, presumably, we're not completely crazy. So intuitively, we have developed this capacity to observe emotions happen. However, we do not have formal practice. We don't have formal ways similar to working out your biceps or doing planks and working out your core or working out your cardiovascular system with many different exercises: running, swimming, cycling, playing tennis, playing basketball, so on and so forth. We do not have a formal way of exercising capacity such as concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. It's 3 and 3. We always repeat these things. What is the subjective experience? It's feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. What are the capacities we're trying to develop? Concentration, focus, being able to clearly see. Equanimity, just relaxation, but more like floating, going with the flow, being able to create a separation. Concentration and equanimity go hand in hand. We call this being in the zone. When you can watch yourself, when you can get out of your feelings. Shout out to Soul Provider Speaks. Shout out to Dr. Mad. New mic game. Yes, I'm trying this one out. The other higher powered mic, the the standard. I'm moving that one over actually to my new setup that I'm going to be having over there with the Macintosh and all that stuff. This is going to be my Rode mic. It's actually called the Rode, right? It's a Rode Gear, all right? It's the Rode Podcaster. And I'm going to be taking this one on the road with me when I'll be taking another international trip in 2 weeks. So you'll be seeing me out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Matt. So let's get right into this. Okay, let's get right into this. This is part 5. We've been down this road. I made 4 videos on the why you should meditate series. And then I made another 4 videos on the how you should meditate. And this is part 5. Okay? And because these should be able to stand alone to a certain extent, basically, as I've already alluded to, the basic idea is that we are going to formally use certain capacities in order to develop them. Same thing applies, whether it's your mind or a skill or your muscle or your bones. You want to develop them, you use them. Capiche? Makes sense, right? A formal use is typically called exercise. It has a form, it has a pattern, you do the thing. The formal use of your concentration, the formal practice of relaxation and equanimity, the formal practice of sensory clarity, being able to discern the different parts of anger, for example, that anger is not just some spirit, maybe it is, but this spirit manifests itself in the realm of feeling in the body as heat in the back of my ear, raising of my temperature, raising of the heart rate, blood pumping through the blood vessels, maybe some images as a result, right? This is sensory clarity. Being able to practice this formally so that in real time we can deploy this kind of a mastery is the idea. Shout out to Bijou Noir in the house. Always nice to see you. You guys should definitely check out her channel. So today we're going to go into part 5, which is about using the emotions. And as I mentioned earlier, the emotions are a major part of our subjective experience, a major part of our first-person perspective, a major part of that feeling, image, and talk trifecta. But we're going to be focusing mainly on the feeling aspect, which is in the body. And again, we use concentration formally on the aspects of our subjective consciousness in order to develop mastery over it. Shout out to Jerome in the house. Shout out to the Goldie Jones channel in the house and the Honorable Chat whipping up the chat. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So if I were to quickly just put down some markers on the ground. I already said that, hey, meditation is about formal use of certain capacities in order to master our subjective consciousness. No woo-woo, no BS, no nonsense. It is as simple as that. You want to develop your biceps and your core. There's these things called exercises. What does the exercise involve? It involves you using your biceps and your core, right? Same thing here. You want to master your subjective consciousness, there's certain things that it implies. It implies you being able to create a separation. It implies you being able to observe yourself. Don't be all in your feelings, as they say, right? Or don't be all in your head, as they say, right? That means being able to more clearly define and create that observer character. That observer character requires concentration. It, in fact, is made up of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. That's what the observer is. And if we want to develop these capacities, we're going to use these capacities formally. It does not involve making sacrifices in a street corner to a god. It does not involve putting on beads and rolling down a hill or doing whatever. It is about the formal use of these capacities so that you develop them. Simple. No excuses. If you do not practice meditation, now you know what you're not practicing. Formality is key. In other words, through the formal exercise of concentration, right? Meaning there is a form. We've talked about using breathing exercises, for example. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. We notice immediately that we can now more feel our body and that we relax, especially with the out breath. We can now create a certain amount of separation between the experience, the subjective experience, the first person experience, how we experience the world, the feelings in the body, the image in the head, and the talk in the head, and the observation of the feeling in the body, the image in the head, and the talk in the head. So they're formal practices, things that we can formally do. There is a form, a count, a timing, so on and so forth. Otherwise, it's not an exercise, right? You don't just go to the gym and do whatever you want. You don't just go to the basketball court and there is no formality. There's always a formality. Otherwise, it's not meditation. Otherwise, you're just kind of daydreaming, maybe. And yeah, maybe you took one formal breath. Even the one breath you take, when people say go, that's at least 2 seconds of meditation, whereby you were able to create a separation between the chaos in your body and the observation thereof. Okay? So basically, we're going to be applying concentration, sensory clarity to the feelings in our body. Today, we are in the realm of internal sensations. We keep it clear. We've talked about in the last video, for example, using internal images. And we went through all of that, all that it implies, being able to train, being able to exercise concentration and relaxation by looking in there in the images in the head. Now, we're in there in the body. We're in the feelings. We're in the emotions. We are going to practice concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity upon this. Let me get a one in the chat if so far our goal is clear. Our goal, obviously, for this whole series is to develop mastery of subjective consciousness. Subjective consciousness is made of feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Emotions, those things that we feel, anger, rage, disgust, mainly are internal sensations. And we're going to practice how to master that by going into them, by observing them. Not suppressing them or controlling them or any of those other things. No, you have to walk into the fire. And that's how you dissolve the fire. One in the chat, if so far our task for tonight is clear. See what's going on over here. And I will be sharing a little PowerPoint. Yes. Dissociate, says D. One in the chat, I see. So, let's get right into this. Okay? Let us get right into the flow here of this particular thing. Emotions are very familiar. They're very familiar to us. So it should not be too difficult to go through this. However, given the chaotic nature of emotions and so on and so forth, it is not the case that we can easily formalize it. We formalized internal images last time. We said, hey, for example, the last little image or the last little thing that I told you guys in terms of an exercise is, hey, and I think this perhaps is worth repeating. Imagine, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Yes. Clear it. Create a blank sheet of paper. Now, in the top left corner, write A. Then hold the A and allow B to appear. Hold A and B, allow C to appear. Hold A, B, and C and allow D to appear. See how far you can go, right? That kind of a thing. We talked about different aspects or different exercises that you can use within the space of internal images because that is an aspect of our subjective consciousness. And this develops that concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity that we need in order to master ourselves. And these things are more powerful than you think they are. But given the chaotic nature of emotions, we are going to use breathing as a formality, breathing as an anchor. So we're going to watch our emotions. Let's say, for example, you're angry right now. You're using your emotions and you're going to be like, whatever emotion I'm feeling, sadness, anger, disgust, whatever, even numbness, I'm going to practice. I'm going to use it as a weight for the training of concentration. I'm going to use breathing as an access point for relaxation. And for those of you who haven't had the time to watch the first 4 parts, which you should at some point go back and watch, breathing was the first thing that we introduced in part 2. Part 1 was just laying out the landscape that we have feelings in the body, we have image in the head, we have talk in the head, and you can use meditation or you can use concentration and sensory clarity on all of these different parts. Image in the head, talk in the head, external sensations, internal sensations of a non-emotional kind, or internal sensations of an emotional kind, which we are talking about today. But taking a deep breath, holding it, letting it out, feeling the relaxation as you let it out. Notice that you can also concentrate more. We know that concentration and relaxation are 2 sides of a coin. When you're making those free throws and it's all net, or you're a sniper, or you are in the zone, you are relaxed. You're not tense. Let me get a 1 in the chat if this part is clear. For those of you who know, you already know, but we have some new people. That concentration and relaxation are aids to each other. That I could say, hey, concentrate, and you could go, okay, I'm going to relax. And then I'm going to concentrate. And as I concentrate, I get more relaxed. And as I get more relaxed, I can concentrate more. Using the breath as a way of accessing the body, practicing concentration on the feelings in the body creates that separation. That's why everybody says, hey, take a deep breath. Immediately you take a deep breath, now you feel your body and you create that separation. And once you create the separation, in other words, you create a distinction between the observation of the experience and the experience itself, all of a sudden, it no longer has as much of a hold on you. Yes, you're still angry or whatever it may be, but it is of a different quality. And you can get better and better and better at this skill the same way you can get better and better and better at basketball or any other skill, because you can formally use it. You can formally do it, just like doing curls and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to be using breathing as a way of formality. And this is just my own personal preference, my own personal technique here. We're going to be discussing internal sensations, but for the formality, which is key, right? Formality is key in any kind of exercise, whether it be physical or in this case, more mental, emotional, quote unquote, spiritual meaning consciousness. Using the breath, whereby I'm going to breathe in as deeply as possible. Exhale, do the relaxed exhale, let the air flow out of its own accord. And I feel the relaxation every time that the air comes out. That's going to be my formality. Sorry for hitting the mic. That's going to be my formality. That's going to be my form. That's going to be my mode. That's going to be the operation that I'm running while I'm watching the internal sensations. Okay? And basically, concentration, okay, is aided by focusing on the breathing, right? So you don't lose yourself in the emotions while you're doing this formal practice of watching your emotions. Your equanimity, which again is like floating. And we made a 4-part series on why you should meditate, where we concentrated on each one of these particular capacities: concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. And also a last one called space for freedom, which is more of that observer effect. Now, And then the sensory clarity, being able to clearly see internal sensations, is greatly aided by breathing. I'm going to ask for another bit of participation in the chat here. Let me get a one if it is clear that you can see that by breathing, you feel your internal sensations more by focusing on the breathing. Part of it is obvious, part of it is intuitive, but we don't leave anything to chance here. Emotions are internal sensations. We're going to use breathing as a way of accessing it, making it easier for us to get in there, to see, to observe. When we observe, we create the separation that is, by definition, the mastery that we're going after. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the ones in the chat. Shout out to JT in the house. Shout out to Utopia, Eric in the house. Young Swift in the house. Felicia, Nicer. Hey. And shout out to Practitioner in the house. Says the book Breathe was recommended to me today. Apparently there's a book called Breathe. So, let's get into this. Let us get into this, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as usual, what we're trying to do is to be able to discern how much of what we're changing at what rate. In other words, rather than say, oh, anger, fear, this, that, or instincts, I feel. No, you need to be able to get to the point, and this is the goal, okay? The goal. The goal of the formal practice is to be able to know within yourself how much of what, right? How much of the raising of the temperature in the back of my ear, okay? I'm talking about anger now. I just talked about how much of a temperature, where? Okay, changing at what rate? What's the rate of my heartbeat now? Am I clenching my jaw? Am I clenching my fist? And we're staying within the realm of internal sensations, but we know that internal images also arise as a result of anger, right? And there is a loop. You may wake up with an internal feeling in your body that may be a result of some kind of your spleen or your stomach or something. And this begins to put images in your head about something that happened 10 years ago or yesterday or something, some reason why you felt disrespected or someone that cut you off on the freeway. And then you start to get upset about that, which amplifies the feeling in your body. The feeling amplifies the image in your head. Start to have voices in your head now. You start talking to yourself. You're in the shower like, motherfucker. So we know that it is a loop. Your subjective experience, feeling, image, and talk they work in a loop, but we're isolating today the feelings, internal sensations of an emotional kind. How much of what, where, changing at what rate? This is mastery. This is the observation which creates the separation. The separation is where the mastery is. You don't control your emotions. You don't suppress your emotions. You don't run away from your emotions. Oh yeah, you can try to do all those things, but it's not how we roll. We go into the emotions and we say, oh, emotions? Well, how much of what? Is it in the stomach? Is it in the chest? Is it in the blood vessels? Is it in the raising of the temperature? Where is it? How does it combine, right? We don't run away from it. We run into it. And we dissolve it as a result. That, my friends, is the key, okay? So it takes, okay, now I've started to abbreviate here. It takes concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity to notice the above, okay? This stuff can get a little abstract, conceptual, or theoretical, and that's why I go over and over. I put words in red. I repeat certain things because, we need to carry ourselves along as we go along. And also, it's experiential. I'm saying certain things, people are breathing. They're letting it out. They're relaxing. They're noticing. So, it takes concentration, it takes sensory clarity, it takes equanimity in order to notice. To be able to answer these questions of how much of what, where, and changing at what rate. And the capacities that we're trying to develop, the capacities that we are using formally, are these capacities. Shout out to K Coaching in the house. In the house. So, self-mastery of feeling, image, and talk, which constitutes, or which is, that in which our subjective experience consists, is what we're trying to master. Concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity is the capacities we're using formally. And now let's go into the applying of these things so that we can build sensory clarity, okay, on the emotions. Because as we've said, the observation is the escape. The observation is the control. The observation is the freedom. As we already can intuit, immediately when we take a deep breath and we can feel whatever it is that is causing us to do whatever we're doing, whatever it is that's causing us to think whatever we're thinking, at least from a bodily perspective, the stresses of the day or the relaxation of the day. When we create that separation from it, there is a space for freedom, a space for consciousness. Most of us left to our devices are unconscious most of the time. Let me get a 1 in the chat if you believe what I said, or if you think I'm capping, as they say. Left to our own devices, most of us, most of the time, are unconscious. We don't have this observation. We cannot tell how much of what, where, and where changing at what rate. No, we are in the experience. We're in the feelings. We're in the head. We are literally unconscious. We do not have the observation to create the escape, the control, the separation, the freedom. As I already began to allude to in our conversation, emotions are an amalgamation of internal sensations. I don't know if this word is spelled correctly. Amalgam. I think it's an A over here. A combination, an amalgamation, a configuration, a collection, an arrangement of internal sensations. Emotions are not in the sky. Emotions are not in the parking lot. Emotions are not on the floor. Emotions are not in your mind. It is in your chest. It is in your blood vessels. It is in your gut. It is there. So the practice, generally speaking, again, going back to the formality, is you're having a day. It's a sad day, an angry day. You feel disgusted, whatever it may be. You feel numb, who knows, whatever it may be. But all these are fodder for meditation. They are fodder for the formal use of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. It's almost like rocks that you pick up if you're trying to build up your upper body, right? So the emotions are these rocks. To answer the question of how much of what, where, changing at what rate, you need concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. So you go over to these emotional rocks and you practice concentration on them, right? So, generally speaking, this one is simple. Because emotions are so familiar. Watch part 2 of this series on the breathing exercises, for example. Pick your favorite breathing exercise. Mine is the effortless exhale, which is you breathe in as deep as possible, fill the barrel up all the way. And you let the atmospheric pressure breathe out for you, like a balloon being squeezed by the atmosphere. That's what happens, right? So your lungs get squeezed and the air comes out without effort. That lack of effort takes concentration. That lack of effort builds relaxation, okay? Let's try it all together. Breathe in as deep as you can to the brim, and then let the universe breathe out. Don't control it. Don't push it. Just feel the dropping of the shoulders, the dropping of the chest, the relaxation of the diaphragm. This requires concentration in order not to put effort into the exhale. It requires concentration and relaxation. You're formally using concentration and relaxation. This helps you now to observe those internal sensations in which emotions consist. So, this is a simple one, okay? So it's not going to be a long video, but it is one whereby I'll be repeating myself over and over and over again because I'm trying to hypnotize you. No, because because it is necessary to be able to see the patterns and to flow with it. So, as I mentioned earlier, that the sensations, okay, can produce and will produce internal imagery. You feel that anger in you, right? The blood is boiling or whatever, and now you have images in your head. Some people see flashing red or whatever, and they see the face of the person they're angry at. Now, these internal images will also perhaps cause you to do certain motor things, like clench your teeth, right? You know, you're sitting there gripping the steering wheel as you're driving to work. It is causing you to do things. Even the gripping of the steering wheel is something to observe. No, it's not too late if you're gripping the steering wheel. Just wake up from the dream. You're like, I'm gripping the steering wheel. My heart is racing. My facial muscles are tightened. You loosen that up. My neck. My shoulders. The back of my neck is hot. My earlobes are boiling. Observation. Space for freedom. separation. You don't suppress, you don't control, you don't avoid, you go in. But you go in armed with relaxation so that you can observe. How do you build relaxation, concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, and so on and so forth? It is by the formal use of these particular techniques. Okay? There is nothing else that I say in this channel that is more important than meditation, by the way. Everything else I say, influencing, selling, business, this, that, the other, how to have this skill and that skill, close this deal, take over that thing. None of it matters if you don't know how to master your subjective experience. None of it matters if your whole life was lived in a state of unconsciousness. And by the way, what I'm telling you right now, which is mastery of subjective consciousness, is the source of the mastery of everything else. Can I get a 1 in the chat if what I just said is clear? I don't know what you're trying to get out of life. You're trying to bend life to your will, bend the government, the organizations, other people, the financial system, your competitors in business, your customers. You're trying to get something from the world. Mastery of your subjective consciousness is the source from which all other kinds of mastery So when I talk about going into a room, being the most comfortable person in the room, that way you can influence the people in the room, because if you're not comfortable, people don't want to give you stuff. Right? If you don't exude that comfort, which some people also call confidence, but it's the same thing. Your shoulders are loose. You're in control by observation of yourself because you've mastered yourself. And in that room, when things get heated, the negotiation gets heated, you still remember your script. You're still on task. You can calm them down. You can get them to sign. You could get them to give you the financial aid. You can, whatever else you may be looking for, right? So that's the idea. And that's why I say that this part of the channel, this whole mastery of subjective consciousness part of the channel, is the most important part. Everything else is subordinate, okay? All those other skills that I teach in terms of, persuasion, influence, selling, energy regulation, all that kind of stuff, this is the top of the pyramid. You master this one, the rest will appear to you just like that. Because we live life from the inside out. So, let's talk about the areas, because we're talking about how much of what, where, changing at what rate. Okay, we already know anger is one of those that is ubiquitously understood. So I've used it a lot, and everybody knows they get hot behind the ears when they're angry. Okay, so let's talk about some of the areas in the body, okay, where we feel these sensations. And let me go ahead and check out what's going on in the chat room. Sup, Nino? What's up, Nino? The Bay Blotter in the house. Bend the spoon. Neo. Yep, all that stuff. All that stuff. So if this is too hard, according to Young Swift, well, then that's just unfortunate. And we don't have NPCs over here in our channel, Neo. I called Young Swift Neo. That's interesting. The stomach, the gut. We know that area, right? You felt the surprising disappointment or whatever. It felt like someone punched you in the gut. Right? Young Swift, you know that to be a particular location that you can find, okay, one of the aspects of these internal sensations that we call emotions, right? It's in the gut. It's one location. It could be butterflies in the stomach. It could be a heavy sense of the sinking in the stomach, right? You know, the sinking sensation. Sup, Sister George? Sister George in the house. Rocking the new black brooms. Getting all the broom upgrades and stuff. Nice to see you here. So the gut is one location, okay? We're trying to answer the question of how much of what, where, changing at what rate. Oh, I'm angry. Well, where is it located? What does it feel like? Because with the observation comes the separation. With the separation comes the space for freedom. With the separation comes the control. Simply by observing. But you need skills in order to observe. You actually need a skill called concentration and relaxation. Hence, remember, okay? Remember, take a deep breath, everyone. As deep as you can. You hold it. And then you let the out breath happen of its own accord. Do not push it. Don't push the breath out. Just let the shoulders relax. Let the chest come down. Feel the relaxation and the equanimity with the out breath. Understand that it takes concentration to be able to resist the urge to breathe out. There is an urge to breathe out, to force it out. Watch part 2 of this series where we talked about the breathing techniques and so on and so forth, okay? But the breathing techniques are being used now as the formal way of watching, of accessing the internal sensations, which we call emotions. Internal sensations are also, you have non-emotional internal sensations as well, right? But now we're just at the point where we're trying to define. We're trying to locate. The chest, right? Besides the sinking of the gut, the butterflies in the gut, the feeling like you got punched in the stomach and so on and so forth. Another location, okay, because emotions are an amalgamation of internal sensations. They're not magic. They're not in the sky. They're not in the parking lot. Okay? Yes, and apologies to the women out there also. Yes, this includes love as well. And love is just stuff going on and it's just little things you're feeling in there. I can't help myself. I got to do stuff like that from time to time. In the chest, the blood vessels and the heart rate. You're literally, for example, when you're angry, in addition to that rise in temperature that you feel in the back of your ear, you can feel the pulsing sometimes, if you're angry enough, of the blood vessels. Let me get a 1 in the chat if the blood vessels / the heart rate part is kind of clear, right? Heart rate. Okay? The chest part is, the heart, when you feel like the heart jumped out of your chest, right? Those kinds of chest-like sensations. But also the heart rate itself, just the rate of the pumping of the blood, right? And also you feel it in other parts. You can feel it right there all over your face, right? Again, emotions are an amalgamation of internal sensations. Your entire subjective consciousness is made up of feeling in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. Sister George, the Goldie Jones channel, Young Swift, Ethiopified. I don't care who you are. Whatever you are experiencing, your entire subjective experience at any moment till you die is always feelings in the body, image in your head, and talk in your head. That is the user interface. This is what we have to master. It is relatively simple when you look at it that way. I'm not saying it's easy. Just like doing curls or doing planks and all that kind of stuff. It's simple, right? It's very simple, but you still got to do it. So this is the formal use of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity in the space of feeling, image, and talk. Just like doing planks and doing curls and so on and so forth is the formal use of these weights and all this kinds of stuff in the space of your physical body, your bone and your musculature, and so on and so forth. It is that simple. The analogy is a one-to-one. You don't need to think outside the box. You don't need to go to a Deepak Chopra conference. Okay? All that other stuff over there is bullshit. Since emotions are an amalgamation of internal sensations, well, we're trying to, answering that question of where. Where do we find these emotions? We talked about the gut. We know about that one very clearly. Okay? The gut has more nerve endings, I believe, than the brain. Maybe a practitioner can correct me. She's the resident medical person over here. But I believe I heard somewhere once that lots of nerves in the gut. It's almost like a brain over there. So, stomach, the chest, the heart leaping out, she stole my heart, or some other such simpish nonsense. The snatching of your heart out of your chest, that feeling, right? The blood vessels and the heart rate and all that stuff. These are things that we can watch, and when we watch them, we separate from them, and when we separate from them, we can no longer be 100% duped by them, and that is the goal. I don't have to tell you why you don't want to be duped by them, because life sucks when you're being duped by them. Life sucks when you're unconscious. Life sucks when you're in your head and in your feelings. Life sucks without that space for freedom. Shout out to the super chatter. Let me see if I can read that. Shout out to the super chatter on the screen. From Sister George, thank you very much, and I will answer that question. Sup, good men? Yes, practitioner, please do the research. Come back with your findings. Sister George, is this simple. You're a lot angrier when you're not hydrated. Has anyone noticed this? Even if you haven't noticed this, have you heard it? Do you know that the way you actually feel vis-a-vis your internal sensations, the balance thereof, how good, how pleasurable, how agreeable they are, is directly related to your nutrition, right? But let's just talk about one aspect of the whole nutrition thing, which is your hydration. If you feel groggy, moody, weird, I'll bring back this video on my pyramid system, okay? The base of the pyramid is hydration, and then it goes through this thing. And at some point, it goes through the subjective consciousness stuff, and then there's some tactical stuff and so on and so forth, okay? But The base of the pyramid is hydration. The base of the pyramid is actually your nutrition. Yes, 110,000 billion %. Your diet and nutrition affects these sensations. Right? Slightly separate conversation. But regardless of how good your diet is, you're still going to have these sensations. And just because you have a good diet doesn't mean you're going to automatically have concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, right? So concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity still need to be trained. You can use the exercise analogy. Yes, you have good diet, but this is not all of a sudden going to make your biceps huge. Let me get a 1, Sister George, or a I understand if I answered your question, if that was a sufficient answer to your question. Basically, yes, 100%, especially hydration. Make sure you're hydrated. What is the key? What is the way to know? I have my way, which is all day, my urine is clear. If the urine is not clear, I don't even start checking any other systems. There's a systems checklist. I call it my pyramid system. Before I start wondering what other thing else may be wrong with me, urine must be clear. Because if urine is not clear, I don't know what else is wrong. It's like going into your car. You got to make sure, okay, that the basics, that engine oil, radiator fluid, the basics, okay? Before you go, like, oh, I think I need a new car, or I need to go somewhere else, and so on and so forth. Yes, soul provider, pee clear urine all day. It's that simple. It'll change your life. You could do it or not. Shout out to L. Nixon in the house. He says, thank you for the $10 super chat, sir. In the debut of this new mic, the Rode mic, because I'm setting up another studio over there with the other thing. But you say, Brother Ike, appreciate the information you keep blessing us with. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you are getting something from it. Young Swift, you're funny. Yeah. Mason, Illuminati, all that good stuff. 100%. And Sister George says, I understand. Bijou Noir over here, that makes you a sponsor of the show, over the $20. She's out here showing out. Make sure you check out her channel, by the way. She's got good content. I go there from time to time, watch from the clouds. I try to hide. Sometimes I get called into the panels. Definitely check out her channel. Indeed. And don't forget to like the video. For those of you whom are new, subscribe. Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Got to make a beat to that. Like, subscribe. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go down this path. We've already talked about the stomach, the gut, the blood vessels. Temperature, we know that. Using anger, that one which we understand very well because people be getting angry all the time. So we know, right, that the temperature is a big part. Okay, the raising of the temperature. Hot behind the neck, whatever. You're getting hot. You're getting heated, right? That's what they say, right? Yes, but rather than act heated, you just watch heated. You say, how much of what, where, changing at what rate? How much of temperature? Where is the temperature? How is the temperature changing? How much of the feeling in my chest? Okay. Also, it causes you to do certain kinds of things, like, as I mentioned, certain action. You grip the steering, you clench your fist, you clench your jaw, you do things. You start tapping, looking around, expending energy, raising your cortisol levels, and dying early. That part is serious, right? Practitioner, am I lying? You think it's just, I'll just ignore it, what's all, the meditation stuff, concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity, whatever. You're dying early. It's not just a question of being unconscious. Unconsciousness actually kills you. Like, quite literally. It's not even a joke. It's not a metaphor. It's not some kind of spiritual death. No, like dead. And not a nice little pleasant one. A horrible, long, drawn out, dilapidated, you're just crumbling, dying slowly. And then you get cancer and you rot away. Why? Because of chronic stress. Because you, all those years, were clenching the jaw, gripping the steering wheel, not paying attention, not developing concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, not understanding that you can create the separation, therefore, right? That's why I say it's the most serious part of everything I talk about. Because it makes your life better. It makes your life longer. And also to give you all those other things. You want to be able to convince people. You want to be cool to be around. You want to be relaxed. You want to be able to close the deal. Cool, calm, collected, happy, go lucky. Always on point. Everything flows from mastery of subjective consciousness. You want to be more creative. You want to have better stagecraft. You want to be a better presenter. Everything flows from mastery of subjective consciousness. Yes, Dr. Thunder. I noticed that when I said die early, I'm gonna be like, you know what? That's gonna be my own. I just made up. I take calls and be like, oh, okay. Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, then you can die early. You can die early. Yes. Our resident medical practitioner says yes. And shout out to Aitois in the house that's feeling the new mic. Yeah, I had to, it's like, it's a nice stylish mic. The other one is of better quality though, but this is for the road. But I'm not going to bore you with the behind the scenes details, ladies and gentlemen. But basically, we have laid out the landscape, okay? We say that emotions are internal sensations. We need to be able to create a separation between the experience of these internal sensations, the feeling in the gut, the feeling in the chest, the temperature, and all that stuff. We need to be able to master it. How do we master it? We master it by observing it, by going into it directly, armed with concentration and sensory clarity, like a little ninja, like a little cat. We just go in there and we list it out. We like, dip, 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 dip. It's like checking the gauges, okay? It's like checking the gauges in your car. It's like checking the gauges in some spaceship. Rather than being all crazy and in the feelings, inside the gauges, inside the engine, you come out and you simply look at the gauges. Okay. A little rise in temperature here, a little this, a little that. Okay. It doesn't mean I have to do anything. And just like in our last videos, we know that internal images are also part of the subjective consciousness and hence part of what we observe. So simply because you're thinking something doesn't mean you have to do anything. Simply because image flash in your head and talk is in your doesn't mean you have to do anything. Same thing with all these internal sensations. In the gut, in the chest, blood vessels and heart rate, temperature, okay? The skin, the creepy crawlies, okay? The skin, hair follicle, goosebump. And then the most subtle of them all is the shallowness of breath. Next time, okay? Next time, you're angry or sad, a little depressed or so on and so forth, check. Your breathing is shallow. Let me repeat that. Your breathing is shallow. The breathing is something that can be automatic or controlled. Hence, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, let's stop and take another deep breath. All the way in. Fill up the barrel to the top. And don't force the breath out. Just let it come out of its own accord while feeling the dropping of the shoulders and the chest, the relaxation of the diaphragm. Breathing can be controlled. Hence, why do I say notice the shallowness of your breathing? Because you can immediately try to change that. You're depressed, you're sad, you're sitting there in front of your computer, not feeling so great. Notice that your breathing is indeed shallow. Trust me, it's shallow. That's how it goes. So what can you do? Take 1 minute out and do deep breathing. Oxygenate yourself, okay? Get the blood flowing. Maybe do a couple of push-ups. Walk around the block. Hydrate yourself. Things of that nature. I'll bring back my pyramid video for a second treatment, right? And in a more granular fashion. I arrange all these things into some kind of a pyramid thing that I do on my day-to-day. So, as I said, this is not going to be a long one because it need not be a long one because it's quite meaty. We're talking about emotions here. And it's just a repetition of the fact that we need to master our subjective consciousness. Our subjective consciousness is made up of feeling in the body, image in the head, talk in the head. We need concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity in order to answer the question of how much of feeling, how much of talk, how much of that. And today we're concentrating on the feeling aspect, the internal sensations, which we tend to call emotions. Not the internal sensations of some kind of instinct or intuition or a stomachache, right? But the ones which we call emotions, we know them. They are an amalgamation of internal sensations, okay? So anger, right? We know. You can imagine the last time you got angry. Who pissed you off? Maybe it was Karen from HR. Next time, simply do the breathing, using the breathing as a mode of triggering immediate observer mode. The breathing immediately triggers observer mode. Let me get a one in the chat if that makes sense, or if I need to clarify what I mean by that, because there's a lot of shorthand being said and so on and so forth, and I like for these to be useful. But breathing immediately triggers observer mode. Breathing immediately takes you from that state whereby things are automatic to now I'm doing something and I'm also feeling my body by definition. When I take a deep breath, I immediately start feeling my body. Now I'm observing rather than experiencing. There is also the experience, but there's a separation between the observation and the experience. So using the breathing to immediately create the observer mode, okay? And then train the concentration and the equanimity so that you can then start feeling the heat in the back of your ear. So you can then start noticing the pumping of your heart. Just because your heart is pumping doesn't mean you have to cuss somebody out. When you think about it that way, when you think about the logic of it, it makes perfect sense. The top of the hill, the top of the mountain, the monk mode, where we are trying to get to, is this. We're trying to get to the point where we see these internal sensations just like watching clouds float through the sky. That level of observer, that level of distance, that level of freedom. That's the goal. Motor actions, which is the third thing said here, which we already know what it makes us do. Cross your leg, clench your teeth, do all these things. It takes up a lot of energy. It goes with cortisol, so on and so on and so on and so on. And it is overall a bad thing for you, effectively, pragmatically, health-wise. All the whys you can think. All the ways and the whys. Yes, 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 yes. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Master your subjective consciousness. What is your subjective consciousness? All you're ever made up of. Okay? Whatever you experience at any point in time, it's a feeling in the body, it's an image in the head, and it's a talk in the head. What's going on with this tie? You messing up. You embarrassing me. Come on. Feeling in the body, an image in the head, and talk in the head. That is our first person experience. That is how we experience life from now till forever. We can master this thing simply by observing it. We observe it by practicing and being armed with this thing called concentration and sensory clarity. The breathing and all these other tools that we use are four ways of formally using those techniques. The same way you formally use your biceps with curls. Same way you formally use your core when you plank, right? It's just formal use. And with formal use comes development, growth. Right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Mr. Selector, keep coming with the grooves and rhythm sweet as nectar. I come feature this one again, Mr. Selector. Keep spreading niceness upon the land and we'll respect ya. People on the pavement where they attend to measure, while the faceless masses will begin to feel the pressure. Aha. I just felt like doing that, ladies and gentlemen. No particular reason. No particular reason. So, kind of explored anger, right? Again, basic idea, we're using breathing as the formal mode, the formality, right? With which we access that observer mode, turn on concentration and turn on that relaxation, turn on the zone. We want to be in the zone. That is another way of just talking about what I'm talking about. How do you train being in the zone? Imagine you had the power to turn on the zone when you wanted to. And not only will it help you enjoy your life, be more effective, but you actually live longer. Disgust. Let me see something. Let me see if I can find something over here. Let us see. And while I find it, oh yeah, and that little verse I gave you, that one is called Mr. Selector. It's not released yet. Something I'm writing. Mr. Selector, keep coming with the grooves and rhythm sweet as nectar. I can't feature this one again, Mr. Selector. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Just simple. Just, just. Let's see if I can find something to trigger our sense of disgust. Let's see what Google has to offer. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Let me try to share this. So, disgust is one of our primary emotions, okay, as well. And let me go ahead here. First of all, let me see if I'm missing anything in the chat over there. Yes. Ethiopified demonstrations and such are quite key ways of making this participatory. And as long as I'm on YouTube, I'll continue to make this particular series because I know there's no end to the depth of it. And some way, somehow, I don't know, maybe I'll start charging you guys money. Because we love the money over here, right? Don't be fooled. Not that I was fooling anybody. Oh, no. We are about those dollars and everything else. See, that's the beauty of life. So let me share this to see if I can activate our sense of disgust. Mr. Selector, keep coming with the grooves and rhythm sweet as nectar. Those bugs in the mouth over there, what's going on with that? Is anyone disgusted by that? Let me get a one in the chat if anyone is disgusted by this. Let me get a one. Or let's get a 2 if you like it, if that's how you get down, If If that's how you get freaky. Disgust, primary emotion as well. Okay? Obviously, located in the body like the rest of them. Okay? Definitely there's that skin, hair follicle, goosebump stuff, right? There is the motor reaction such as the face, right? You furrow your brows. There is a withdrawal. It's like you immediately move away. You close your mouth. You shut the cavities of your body. And you contort your face, right? There are more subtle forms of disgust where you can just be disgusted by the behavior of Karen and HR. No shade to any Karens in the house. But it is also of the same sort. What do I mean by that? Basically, you will be having a more low-level contortion of your face. Like you just have that kind of disgusted look on your face. You get the creepy, crawly feelings in your body. Okay? This is also matter for meditation. It's also a time to stop and observe. Right? Observe the skin. Observe your face. Observe the shallowness of breath. Shallowness of breath always goes along with all these kinds of emotional perturbations, if you will. Okay? Unexpected maggots. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Bam. Look at that super chat. Raphael Williams says, shout out. Salute to you. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated for the $50 super chat. The $50 super chat. Okay. So, I'm going to wrap it up real quick and I'm going to leave a link for anyone. Questions, comments, concerns, any sharing of any particulars from points of view of your experience, your particular research, corroborations, contradictions, disagreements, smoke, right? All right. Again, emotions are an amalgamation of internal sensations, okay? They're not in the sky. They're not in your spirit. They're not in the spirit realm, okay? They might be, but the point is you can sense them in this very body of yours, in that very chest, in that very stomach, in your blood vessels, in that same heart, in the heat in the back of your ears, in the standing of the hairs on your very skin, right? In other words, it need not be mysterious. Observing these things immediately creates the separation. Observing these things immediately creates the control. Observing these things immediately creates the consciousness and the freedom. This is how you master your subjective consciousness. And emotions are a big part of that feeling, image, and talk trifecta, which constitutes the entirety of your subjective consciousness. And the last thing I want to talk about before I move forward is numbness, okay? Numbness is something that, and this is why I left it for the last. I started with the most potent ones that everybody can feel and we can really get to, which is anger, right? Numbness is the most subtle of them, but it's also the most dangerous. And I'll get to what I mean by that in a second. I will get to what I mean by that in a second. And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, don't forget to join myself and Dr. Thunder on this very channel on the 25th to get ish done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. We'll be bringing to you another fascinating episode, a blast. We are very excited about this one. This is the second one, number two on the series, in the series. And meanwhile, while we discuss numbness, I'm going to drop a link. Linky. The stinky linky. Questions, comments, concerns, contributions of any kind vis-a-vis the topic. Got to be on the topic, right? Of meditation, master your subjective consciousness, using the emotions, okay? Numbness. And since I mentioned this, let me see if what else is going on here. All right. Numbness. Wow. Did you know I just leave another super chat? Jesus. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone has any suggestions for practitioner? Well, I tend to lay down or stand or sit up. I tend not to have formal postures per se when I meditate. And I use nice pillows around, lumbar support, little things like this, so on and so forth, to make sure that I'm as comfortable as possible. And then, you will pinch some nerves and some numbness will happen anyways. But There you go, D. So basically, numbness is this. What do I mean by numbness? I'm talking about a numbness of internal sensations. Can I get a 1 in the chat if someone can see where I'm going with this? Okay. Generally speaking, when you are in a state of high hydration and you just haven't eaten a slab of rice and potatoes with cheese and processed nonsense, okay? When you're in that state of, you just, let's say you just worked out, you're feeling the flow, right? There is a flow of internal sensation. In other words, you can easily move from feeling your head to feeling your feet. It's almost like there's an electricity going through you, okay? Okay, this will be one extreme. This will be one extreme. Numbness, okay? Numbness is the absence of this, like 100% absent. Numbness, the absence of the flow in internal sensations. There is no flow. It's almost like the milk has congealed. The milk is spoiled. The milk is spoiled. I'll bring you in with a mute. It's almost like the milk has spoiled. Okay? And let me go back to the sharing. And then I'll bring you in. Absence of flow. Now, why did I bring this up and why did I bring it in the end? I'm bringing it up so that it's something that you notice, okay? To the degree to which you inculcate these practices, these meditative practices that we've done so far now, 5 videos on. This is the 5th video. On the how side, we did 4 videos on the why side. Total 9 videos on meditation explicitly on this channel. But the playlist contains more than 9 videos because there are other little tidbits. For example, when I talk about listening to the sound of your ear, that video is also there in that playlist. When I talk about being the most comfortable person in the room, that is meditation, okay? When I go and I'm giving presentations in front of people, trying to close the deal, when I'm giving a sales pitch, best believe I'm meditating. It's best believe I'm meditating. When I'm in front of the stage singing, best believe I'm practicing my meditation and hypnotic techniques. It almost goes without saying. Everything flows from mastery of subjective consciousness. Everything flows from it. So, one thing to notice, if you're now taking these things into practice and you're doing the breathing exercises, you've gone through part 1, part 2, you're using internal images, which is the last part 4, okay? The use of internal images. You're going to start developing your concentration more. You're going to be able to see quite clearly, you're going to be able to discern. The discernment. The Bible talks about the spirit of discernment. Well, this is how you develop the spirit of discernment, right? How much of what, where, changing at what rate, right? I want you to then notice numbness in some days, because sometimes it's I'm angry or I'm this or I'm elated or whatever, but sometimes it's numbness, and numbness will bite you in the butt. Numbness will get you because you tend not to feel it by definition, but it is a bad state. It is not a good state. You need to observe it. The least you can do is observe it and then try starting to kick out of it by breathing. That's always the first little key. That's why any kind of meditative practice you get into, breathing is always essential, because breathing is that thing that can be automatic, but also voluntary, right? There's difficulty in isolating internal sensations in this state of numbness. You can't really isolate, what does my left hip feel like? Or what does my gut feel like? It's just a general numbness in your body. And this is a dangerous state to be in. Highly unconscious state to be in. You'll do stupid stuff when you're numb. Okay? And you're most likely stressed for reasons that are not manifesting themselves in internal images. Okay? Again, internal images, internal talk, and internal feelings is the entirety of our subjective consciousness. That's all that we are. That's all that we ever will be. That is the entirety, again, of our subjective consciousness. Okay? And they work together. Image in the head causes a feeling in the body. Feeling in the body creates a loop of more images in the head. That makes you angrier, and then you also, the motor things, the things that you do, the gripping of the steering wheel and the clenching of the teeth makes you angrier, right? The screaming out makes you actually angrier too, and it's just this loop loop, loop, loop. Breaking out of the loop is how you control it. You do not suppress your emotions. You do not control your emotions. What you do is you dive directly into them, armed with concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. Numbness is not indifference, sir. Numbness you will be able to sense. I'm talking about a feeling in the body, not a state of indifference, which is more psychological, more mental. I don't care. No, numbness is a bad thing. You don't want to be numb. Okay? Let me qualify that. You will be numb, but you don't want to be unconsciously numb, right? Indifference is psychological, it's mental. Don't mistake the two. Having sensory clarity is what will allow you to be able to discern the differences between all these states. Everything that you are or ever will be, subjective experience-wise, is feeling, image, and talk. Basically, you need to master these things. You need to be able to disambiguate, disaggregate all the different amalgamations and arrangements of feeling, image, and talk so that you don't get caught up in it. That's the idea. All right. We got a guest in the house.
Hey, Ike.
Hey there. How are you? Your internet is slow or something.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Is that working? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Ah, you're
in
Borgin.
a different location. I relate to it. A lot of it. Have tested out some. All right. Well, turn my cam off. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, let's give it one more try. Go ahead. Talk again.
How's that? With my cam off, maybe it'll come through.
It is coming through thus far.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Like I said, as usual. I'm a fan of meditation, and you know what you were saying about observing the emotions. That's similar to my own experience with. It's like you got to look at them, and then most of them I find aren't really that interesting, or then you figure out which ones you actually are the most real and actually need dealt with. But you're talking about numbness there at the end too. I feel like that's an easy state to get into, of not observing things, and it's an illusion of numbness. But
Gotcha. So that numbness can arise generally from that general state of unconsciousness, which I talked about, that most of us, and I like to include myself because then comes the next part of the statement. Most of us left to our own devices, in other words, not practicing this stuff, we're just in a state of unconsciousness, right?
right, I was going to say, it's like my own experience is like I would say consequences of being in a less conscious state actually led to difficulties and even health issues that a more conscious state helped, alleviate. I'd like to think that I would have gotten there as quickly without the problems, but probably not.
There you go. So you even have experiences in your life where, getting over health difficulties as a result of being more conscious. Okay. And I agree because the research backs this up. Plus also being the kind of person that goes in and does these kinds of things. I know that the body wants to be felt, right? That the body, let me repeat that, okay, wants to be felt. And no, young Swift, it's not what you're thinking about, you dirty bastard. The body wants to be felt. You need to feel the internal sensations. It's almost like your body is screaming at you, like, feel, notice, take care of. It's almost like this an integration that needs to happen. And when your mind is off,
it wants to have an opinion in matters.
Exactly. It wants to be integrated into what's going on. When you do not do that, it actually kills you. But anyways, let's see. We have someone else here in the chat. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
It's Coffee Nino, man. How are you?
I am good. Always nice to hear that voice. That you have that distinct voice, sir. Nice to see you in the panel. What you got for us, sir?
Hey, man. I just want to touch on numbness. That really touched me. I I haven't been there, but I almost have gotten there. Uh, and numbness is just a mental state of just checking out. I really feel that, when a lot of people check out mentally, it could be uncontrollable. You don't know what the results will be. You don't even know where you may go. But I just want to commend you that the work that you're doing starts here in this space that we're all in. And a lot of men probably need to check here, to the meditation psychologist. First, because, it's about getting in tune with yourself, finding out what the problem is, and getting good results. And I think that's what we're getting here.
100%, Mr. Nino. And that's the thing when you say, because I tend to, well, I've said in this particular stream a couple of times that it all starts with mastery of subjective consciousness, that those are the things that I talk about, right? Like, for example, if your thing is self-improvement of any kind, I want to make more money, I want to be more disciplined, I want to be able to get more women, or be able to handle the women that I have, or be more okay, blah, 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 blah. It really is all come from in the inside, right? The answers become clear, right? Like, there's a lot less action that you have to take. And Mr. Nino, you know what I'm about to say. Like, when you show up in the room, okay, let's just talk about the, things that men like to talk about, okay, which is, let's say, women, okay, for a second. When you show up in the room and you're in the zone, you don't have to do a lot, right? When you're the man in control of yourself from within, you don't have to say much. Am I right?
Yes, sir. And I've always stated this on many various platforms, that, being a man come natural for some of us. First, being a man. Secondly, being confident. You're going to get all kind of looks, but because of you knowing who you are and your positivity, you're going to not even notice the haters. You're not even going to notice. But, if you're a person like yourself, like when you walk in the room, people know you for who you are because you stated who you were in the beginning, and you haven't put yourself in a situation to mislead or be misled, or for that to be led. I mean, like you said, you are a introvert, to a certain extent. I'm somewhat the same, but when I feel that there's a need to speak out, then I will.
Yeah, 100%. And just to make it clear, the whole introversion, extrovert thing really is about how we recharge, right? In other words, it doesn't mean you can't do external things. Doesn't mean you cannot be the leader. I think it's rather clear that, I'm over here on YouTube. I'm the lead singer of a band. I'm a salesperson running an engineering company, blah, 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 blah. I'm a man of action, okay? But the point is, I have to withdraw from those places, go to my fireplace, maybe pour a nice scotch and just be alone, right? In order to recharge, right? That is the whole introvert versus extrovert thing. It's really about how we recharge, right? Other people, like the extroverts type, they recharge by being around people. It actually gives them energy. They're, the psychic vampires, to talk ish about them a little bit. But us, we actually get drained by others, and then we have to go and then we recharge ourselves just by ourselves, right? That's the difference. It's not so much about what people tend to think it is, right?
Yes, sir, indeed. I agree with you 100%.
Excellent. So let me see if we have anyone else waiting there, and we're going to do a nice little rotation. But no. So, Audra, you still there?
Yeah.
Anything else to add or question, comments, thoughts as we approach the close of this here session?
Oh, I had a couple of thoughts. One, I was thinking of, you're talking about, I think you mentioned, you talked about kind of confronting the emotions and observing them and dealing with them and becoming more conscious of both physical and sort of amalgam, sensations internally. And you're talking about, how they can help you in a certain context.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on just a second. And I was, from personal experiences, like, I think you can also get to a certain point where you can have it can actually you can gain control over certain physical aspects, right? You realize that some of these elements affect you physically. But you can also have a physical effect. I was thinking about anger. That's one I'm familiar with, and thinking about, the sudden anger, and then the stored anger, sort of chronic anger versus, and then also taking it and almost, putting it in a place where you can.
How about spontaneous?
As fuel. Getting some company here.
Spontaneous anger, huh?
Some commentary
Hey, you
here,
guys,
but
what's up, y'all?
like I have a background in martial arts, and a lot of my meditation and experience with this, the foundations for it were laid there. And you're talking about getting in the zone, and again, mentally, sort of charismatically. Like I said, from my own experience, like you can even to a certain extent do it physically. You can settle in and like get ready for a fight or to break something, hit it really hard, and control that where when you're not in the zone, when you don't have that, like the external pressure, the stuff that would get you there automatically. So I think that's, and also pain control, like that's another one that I've seen and experienced. Like you can, again, once you've become very familiar with all that, you can I think you can just to some extent gain some control over it, which is quite nice. You're not doing away with it, but you're working with it, and can do some pretty powerful stuff,
100%.
just at a very, very, very
100%.
physical level.
Yes,
Hey,
100%.
Hey, what's up, brother Ike?
What's up, Ray in the
The
house? How you
variations
doing?
in meditation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with that meditation, I find that within meditation also comes the practice of being able to focus on singular points.
And so the way I tend to break it down is that there are three capacities you're developing, right? One is concentration. It tends to be the main one, right? And that is focus, right? Focus meaning, you focusing on something, things get blurred out into the background, if you think of a camera, right? So you can focus in on these different aspects of your subjective consciousness, or even external things, right? Or mental focus, and so on and so forth. So yes, definitely agree. Go ahead.
And with that practice, you'll be able to focus on that one singular point when there's a traffic of many things coming to try to disrupt your spirit and get you off focus.
Exactly. So you have any examples of it? Something like that? You're being quite general here and cryptic.
Well, no, like, when you're in, like, say, like in a conversation with someone, and you got, a debate going on with someone, or you're talking to somebody, and you know how other people can just come in, with their traffic of their nonsense or whatever, and everything's in disarray then, because like you're trying to focus on what this person's saying, instead of just having a singular point.
I see. Yes. It's that ability to disaggregate, disambiguate, and hone in on what is necessary given the particular context having to do with the ends you're trying to reach, right, is invaluable in anything, whether you're a sniper, you're a basketballer throwing free throws, you are studying math. Concentration is concentration is concentration, right? Regardless of which field you're in.
And with that constant practice, yes, you'll be like your own master of it, of not letting other things sidetrack you of that singular point that you're trying to focus on.
100%.
I think that this all common levels, where you see people for who they are and where they are in life, but you as a person that's having control. Now, example, I wouldn't put myself in a situation to be in any company that I don't want to be in. That's one. Secondly, acknowledging the problem and acceptance of responsibility is the first key to resolving human mistakes. We're going to get burned
Yes, yes.
over and over and over, but you have to know how to turn those emotions on and off. And you are the person that has that control, and that's what I learned about my life. I learned to associate myself with things more of what I want out of life versus what I don't want, because those other things you can easily push them away and concentrate mainly on the positive.
Yes, yes, and
100%.
that's what I do.
100%.
And with what I said, brother Ike, on that note, um, and yes, the positive. Sometimes the positive can be covered up by a whole bunch of negatives from other people, that are thrown at your way. But this person you're talking to is talking of something of great positivity. You know, that's where it comes with the strength. Where you got to focus on that, meditate and focus on that singular point, that positivity.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Focus and concentration. So, Mr. Oh, my bad. Dr. Thunder. Dr. Thunder in the house. What you got for us, sir?
What's happening, man?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm all right. So I had forgotten to grab some milk earlier, and my 7-year-old son would have been very disappointed tomorrow morning when we weren't able to eat cereal together. So I decided to go down the street to the corner store, which I go to all the time because it's between my house and the highway. So anyhow, I get out, I go in, and what I want to talk about is blurting. How if you are not aware, if you're not aware of your emotions, aware of your lack of contentment, that you will blurt things out that are wholly inappropriate and are likely undercutting any hope of you improving your circumstance. So here, let me pick the story up. So I go into the corner store, and I go back, and I got milk, and they had a great sale on some ice cream. And so I picked up some ice cream, and it was like one of these things where you buy one, you get one for free or something. And so I was like, okay, that sounds good. This particular corner store is known for their ice cream. I'm trying not to use the name of the company. I hope that's not irritating people too much. So anyhow, I get up to the front, and there are 2 lanes, and I go right in front of both of them. It's women, and they're both kind of up in age, but one is older than the other and is more of kind of stern and gruff. And I go up to her, and she's like disgusted. She is disgusted because the fact that I have ice cream means that she's going to have to go back and restock the ice cream. Okay. And so she tells me, get out of her line and go to the next person's line. So that's the first thing. And then she continues to complain as I'm checking out. And it's just pretty, almost unbelievable. Like, this is an employee. Their job is to collect money. Their job is to try to sell as much stuff as possible and to restock it as much as is necessary. That is their job. And I think the lack of self-awareness and just the lack of even acknowledging one's own lack of contentment with whatever else is going on can cause you to blurt things out and not have control of yourself. So
100%. So it's like I always say over here. It's like if well, let's just say one might have woken up that day with a slight pain in the back, but because you're not conscious, you don't notice it. You don't take note of it. You don't separate yourself from it. This pain in your back is there, makes you a little uncomfortable. You're sitting in a kind of a weird way. You're kind of uncomfortable in your ride and your job. This pain in your back is making you think about your ex-husband or whatever.
right.
The pain in your back is making you go through all kinds of stuff, okay? And now she is towards the end of her shift, angry, but not at any one thing in particular, right? It was what I call unconsciousness, and we've all been there. It's just you're not conscious of simple things in your feeling, image, and talk realm. That pain in your back could also be maybe a numbness, as I told people to watch out for. It may be a ringing of some kind of a song in your head. That means something else. In other words, all these different arrangements of feeling, image, and talk have different significance, let's say, right? And only by learning your particular machine will you know what to watch out for. For me, for example, I know that music playing in my head means I'm not going to be very focused that day. That's the kind of day you can get into an accident, right? Your head is filled with something other than, right? Obviously, it's better when your head is clear, right? One can intuitively see, right? So when you wake up and there's this repeating song, on a Tuesday, got the girl outside, whatever it might be, right? It's just playing in your head. That's the kind of day where you watch out. You're a little bit more careful. For example, there's some superstitions, right? In Rome or in Rome or also in Africa, where it's like, if you walk outside, when you're leaving, and we think that these people are stupid, right? When you're leaving your hut in the morning, you're going out for a hunt or you're going out into the forest for something, and you trip, right? That's a bad omen. Don't go anywhere. Why do you think they did that? Okay, why do you think they did that? In other words, somehow they've learned over millennia or whatever that means you're less conscious that day. That means you're literally a little clumsier that day. Now, in Western society, it may not matter. But when you're living in the jungle, when one small slip might mean a snake biting you and killing you, or some wild animal, or not noticing certain thing that's actually dangerous, then yes, it is prudent to have such a superstition, whereby if you come out and you trip out on your doorstep, don't go anywhere that day. That's the end of the superstition. They don't give this kind of an explanation. Okay, it's just that. But it is really smart. It is really wise, because the people who tripped and then went out probably didn't come back, right? So I don't know if you had anything else to add.
But ain't those superstitions started, brother, to, in a sense, install fear in others, therefore bringing up some sense of control?
It depends on depends on the goal. Either way, it's fear, right? In this case, they want you to be afraid of this particular bad omen, therefore don't go out. Or it may be from in this case, it's just your individual safety that's in concern. Or it could be the safety or the particular kind of the coherence and the continuation through time of a particular power structure, the societal structure. Therefore, don't do this because it threatens our way of being, that kind of a thing. Yes, either way, it's fear. I agree. I just brought up that example because it's kind of, it fits in with certain things that we notice even up till now.
I think that it also could mean that you are a person that just know who you are. Like, if I know I'm angry for that day and I can't control it, and it's just not a good day for me, I'm not going to go around people and inflict what was going on with me on anyone else. However, what you stated, maybe that day the clerk could have had something going on, and that could affect your work. However, if doctor has been going to this store, patronizing the store like for a million years, and he see the same behavior, or he never saw it before, maybe he could give her another try to see what's going on, because you just never know what people are going through, But then, yeah,
I'm with that. If I can finish, I can finish the story. So now, a couple details about the story. Do you think that the woman that I'm talking about is a Karen or is a Keisha?
Oh,
Okay.
we're gonna go there with this one.
No, I'm not. Look, man. I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
no,
not trying to.
I'm pulling
Yeah.
you.
And I'm not trying to suggest. My wife is black, and she's not like that. So I know that black women are not always that way, but there are certain stereotypes that are that they're there because they seem to be a regular part of observable reality, and the fact that this woman had this sort of attitude, that was, honestly, when she had the attitude, it didn't even mean anything to me. I almost didn't take it to mean anything because it's a common reality.
Experience.
But, right. So I go. So after I had bought my stuff, I leaned in to the woman and I said, "Die early," and then I left.
No,
I didn't.
Obviously, you. Yeah, but die early is gonna be my catchphrase. It's gonna be like, well, you're not gonna. Well, then, die early. But to the other points that were mentioned, basically, why I said that story of the plausible kind of day that she would have gone through is for empathy, right? It's to kind of say, hey, you've probably been through one of those days where there was something off. Like your back was hurting. I use the back example because it's kind of like the most kind of far removed, where it's like it doesn't really have anything to do with anything, right? And then next thing you know, you're shooting somebody in the middle of the parking lot, to double murder, suicide. Anyways, just be a little jocular there. But
is it,
Audra,
but is it okay? But is it okay though? That's kind of my issue.
No. 100%. That's why it's like, obviously here, the whole point of me saying all these things is for you to take responsibility. I'm talking about mastery here of your subjective consciousness, and that what you get if you do not do that, right? And I've said things like, this is the most important thing, and if you don't want to do it, that's on you, so on and so forth, right? So there are many ways to get to this path. Some of us, we're intuitive, we do certain, we are who we are, and we're going to get here, right? Some, we go to church and we practice the religion. Some we listen to the whatever. Some we just decided that, it's not good to be an asshole, right? That kind of a thing. But either way, it's on you, 100% your responsibility, no excuses. The whole kind of me describing the day was more of a teaching of like, this is how the mechanism works.
But, I like what he said, though, what the doctor said, we've seen it so much to where it has become familiar, you do have, and I'm not trying to, go in on women and nothing like that, but you do have some women that go there. They filled out the application. They wanted the job. So therefore, they need to go by the mission statement of the company, regardless to how your day feel. You feel bad, your head hurt, your back ache. Tell them to let you take the day off for the rest of the day. That's where I feel, because somebody else want that job, I've seen it. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it in government. I've seen it at the driver's license place. I've seen it at the anywhere you have to do public service. The line is long, and then one girl shuts the window and like, go to the next line. After sitting there talking to the person next to her, and then she go take a coffee break or smoke break. If you don't want the job, don't apply for it.
Right.
Audra, you got anything to add to this? And we'll rotate to Ray, whom wanted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got some final thoughts. My battery's running low, so probably my time is limited. But one thing, just one little tidbit that popped into my mind, because you keep bringing up snipers, and I might know a little bit about that. But I was thinking about, I think one of the states that this practice and meditation and control, you're talking about focus. I think that the state of being focused and relaxed is not really is not often a natural state, but is one of the goals of this practice and self exploration is to be, because I was thinking about again, shall we say, sniper like things, shooting a rifle and whatever. Yeah, it's and in martial arts and a lot of things, but being focused, and it applies outside of the martial pursuits as well. But I and that's
Yeah.
again being focused and relaxed. I think that's one of the goals of a lot of this practice. That is quite a powerful
I would say be alert.
acquisition.
More of being alert in a situation like what you're in, being that you're a martial arts person. That could go on down the line of a defense tactic person. Be focused, but also relax. Always be ready.
Well, it kind of, but
100%.
specifically in terms of fighting, like from my own experience, one of the harder goals for me was, and is reaching, is like you can reach a state of focus in combat, but talking about being aware, being focused, but not tunnel vision, right? You're focused, but your eyes aren't, or honestly, when you're looking through a scope, the same thing. You got one eyeball looking through the scope, being able to put you working towards two eyes, and so you've got one focused on magnification a long ways away, but then you're also, while you're not focused on the wider view, having, again, very specifically when you're talking about like rifle shooting, having the other eye open. It's not on the scope, that is seeing the landscape and seeing everything else, right? And not very, very exact, practical example of how tunnel vision, right? So you've got tunnel vision and you're focusing here, but yeah, maintaining awareness without losing focus on a specific thing. So yeah.
In other words, watch out for Audra. She'll take you out. But yeah, thanks Audra for your contribution. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Good stuff.
And yeah, just to add on something, and then I believe Rayhana wanted to say something. I always talk about the focus and concentration and equanimity, which is part of the trifecta thing that I do. I do concentration, equanimity, and sensory clarity. Sensory clarity is just, now you're able to say, rather than I'm angry, you're able to say things like, well, you know the heat in the ear, the feeling in the stomach, the blood vessels. You're able to see clearly exactly what's going on as opposed to not being that way. But concentration and that equanimity is being in the zone, right? Like when you're in the zone, it's like you're hyper concentrated, but also hyper relaxed, right? And all of us have been in the zone once or twice, right? So we kind of know that kind of a state, and we know that we can be closer and closer or further away from it. And the whole point of this whole conversation is that, hey, you could actually train it. You could actually practice it. You could actually get better. Ray, do you have something to say? And then we'll go closing thoughts now. Ray, Nino, and Dr. Thunder, any thoughts?
Yes. I would like to say though, is that I recognize when it comes to mastering your internal self to obtain that master of control over your emotions, experience is needed, because with no experience, how are you going to say that you're able to exercise such control over yourself when such situations arises? Because keep in mind, half of the situations, that happens to us are spur of the moments, out of nowhere. And so I feel full mastery comes as when, as soon as those situations arises, is that you come into a complete stop and a great focus of what's going on around you. So therefore, so you can know how to lay forth the positivity within yourself, to lay that out, to usher out the darkness that's trying to disturb the peace within you. So without that experience
is it's like, you can practice and practice and practice, and you can spar and spar and spar, and you could practice, target shooting in certain kinds of situations, right? And to try to get ready, so that hopefully you can bring those forces to bear when the situation actually arises.
Because
However,
there's things, yeah, because
yeah.
you can be really good, mastering. Okay, boom, I got this down. Pat yourself on the back that day. I got this down. I triumph over this negative, energy that was trying to disrupt the core factors of my spirit to get me to react negatively to it. So I triumph and conquer that. Boom. But you can't really say you fully master at it until you came across such calamities, you know, that to where where you have that practice where you can be like, okay, I'm good, I'm skilled now. You can't say you're good at it, mastering it, if you only at level 20, and the things that are possible to happen to people have reached like level 40. So
Exactly.
sometimes level 30 shit can hit you, and you'll be all out of whack, and
Oh
you'll be
yeah.
responding all negatively to it. I feel it's highly important that while being a practice of that, and something like that does happen, is to quickly come to a full stop and go into that meditation.
Definitely. That's a very apt addition, sir. And what was the rotation? We were gonna go to Nino, and then those are your closing remarks, Ray? Or you had anything else to add?
No, sir. No, sir. That was it.
Excellent. Nino, what you got? Closing thoughts, remarks, statements, and something you would like to impart upon us, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to tell you what resonated with me today in this podcast was the meditate using emotions part that you brought up, where observation is freedom. It's the freedom stood with me the most, because I was just in the podcast of black men being brutally honest that you were in the other. Well, I wasn't in it, but I was listening. I laid back in the cut that night, and I saw how what you stated was how you could, because of who you are, you could change the whole situation in the room. Meaning you could have people to think a different way. I don't think it's your situation to control nor deceive, but I noticed that when the conversation was going one way, when you got up on the panel and Masaja Noir got up on the panel, two people who think totally different from anyone else, the respect had come in, to the point to where, you took the conversation to a more positive, giving steps as to why things should be this, that way, and the other. And so that's all I had to say. I just wanted to say that.
100%. Thank
Also,
you very
brother
much.
Ike. Brother Ike, real quick. I forgot that I left out. Is music a good conduit for meditation?
100%. So I did. One of these series was using the ear sounds. That is right, both internal sounds and also external sounds. So basically, just like any other aspect of feeling, image, and talk, there is external sensations, which we know the senses, right? So the sounds, paying attention to the sound. Take, for example, you could right now just stop and try to listen to the furthest sound you can hear. What do you need to do? You need to concentrate and you need to relax, right? Again, these capacities, at least in my kind of a system, my way of breaking things down, is you're training these capacities of concentration, relaxation, and sensory clarity. And there's so many ways of going about doing it. So even if you're listening to a truck passing by the freeway, or you're listening to a more systematic, let's say you're, gongs that are on time and you're listening to it that way and keeping, or music, same thing, right? So 100%.
Okay, good.
And Dr. Thunder, you have the last word before we exit the situationship.
Yeah, man. Great stream again, man. And before I say my final words. Again, we have our show February 25th, 6:30 p.m. PST, 9:30 p.m. EST, and it's an hour and a half show. It's going to be interesting and fun, and it's going to be simple and actionable, and all of the things that you expect from a program on Ike's channel. So really looking forward to that, getting ish done. I want to talk a little bit about the role of experience. So Greg was talking about experience, and you can't know, basically you don't know how you're going to respond in a situation, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you've experienced that situation. Now, mm-hmm. I take it a slightly different way. So, the Bible says it rains on the righteous and on the unrighteous. You can't look at the rain as the reason for your reaction, because the rain, it affects everyone. And so in this illustration, the rain is only showing who you actually are, who you really are. That's what the rain is doing, right?
The rain exposes those who are righteous and those who are not righteous. It rains all of them equally, and then it exposes them based on their reaction to the rain. Is that what's going on here?
That's what's going on. And the experience thing is interesting too. They say, education is expensive. And if you have to wait for experience to teach you, that is a very inefficient method of learning, right? So, you have three kinds of learning or inability to learn. You have the fool. The fool never learns, right? The Bible says a rod for the fool's back. There's no way to adequately teach the fool. The fool burns their left hand on the stove and then thinks, you know what, maybe it was burned because it was my left hand. Maybe my right hand is impervious. And then after the right hand is burned, then maybe it was the order that I touched the stove in. Which hand first? Okay, that's the fool. So the fool never learns. Then there is the simpleton. The simpleton is the person that requires experience for learning. They're only capable of learning if something happens to them. Okay, that's the simpleton. So yeah, they touch the stove and then they decide, you know what, I don't need to touch the stove anymore because I've been burnt by the stove. Okay, and then there is the wise. The wise can learn from someone else's experience, right? The wise will actually, listen to their parents, do what they're told, listen to the instruction of their teachers. They'll watch, Ike Ogiamian's podcast and they'll listen closely and try to actually apply things, not necessarily waiting for some experience to impart that, but rather benefiting from your wisdom. So your wisdom becomes their wisdom. So that's the wise. Now, very few of us are actually wise. Okay, most people are simpletons or fools, and we're actually multi-tier. We're multi. We have
depends on what
several aspects.
You may be wise in one area, but you're foolish. You're foolish with women or something like that.
Yeah, and I think at first with women, for me, I was a fool. And
when are you gonna learn, Thunder? I'm just
that's right. If you want to see some evidence of this foolishness and simping, I have that series, Blue Pill Testimonials. That's me being a fool. But eventually I learned. But yeah, so sometimes it's frustrating to see people sort of use the simpleton's approach when that there is a better way, and that's not. I mean, you hear people use that like it's some sort of, deep wisdom or something. Like, hey, you gotta live it. You gotta experience it. You're not gonna know anything until you experience it, and like this. And it's like, well, I do understand that you won't have the same sensations. You won't understand exactly what the sensations are until you've gone through it. But you can probably prevent going through it at all if you just listen and actually pay attention and actually apply wisdom that you get from other folks. It's one reason why I really enjoy your channel, is because of the wisdom that you're imparting, and it's very important. So if people will really listen, if they will really listen and apply, they can prevent themselves from having to experience certain things, and hopefully, definitely, stop being a fool.
100%. The fool, the simpleton, and the wise. The fool never learns. The simpleton needs to get burned. The wise will learn from other people being burned. We are fools, simpletons, and wise, depending on which particular parameter we are measuring. That is a summary, sir, of see, that's how we do the show together. I talk like this, he talks like that. So make sure you check it out. Lots of gems being dropped. Lots of gems being dropped for, well, it's the 25th. The 25th, Thursday, the 25th, the second installment of Getting Ish Done with Ike and Dr. Thunder. So I believe that is the end of your statement, sir, right?
Yes, sir.
Very, very, very glad to have you here. Always welcome. Now, and stay hydrated, okay? Always stay hydrated. Wake up. It takes a while. It takes a while to get used to it. I always got sparkling waters, Perrier's or Pellegrinos. I got regular waters. There's always a water in arm's reach. Always do that. Always stay hydrated, okay? It'll change your life. You're 75% water. There is no reason to even be questioning, right? It's just a question of, well, I need to implement, right? You are literally water. That's what you are. Like, it's not a question of, and all this stuff about not liking water, that's, please, this is a no excuse zone. No excuse zone if you haven't noticed. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. This was the fifth installment on the How to Meditate. And we talked about using the emotion, okay? Emotions they come for free. They come free of charge, okay? But they reflect an opportunity. As Ray was saying in the chat that, you may think you're on level 10 in terms of mastery of yourself, but there's level 30 stuff that could happen to you, okay? You think you've experienced this and that, but no, there's other things that could happen, and But a good way to look at these things are as opportunities to train, to level up, if you will, right? Level up your level of mastery of yourself. The perturbation, when you think you can handle this level of anger, this level of, whatever, level of disgust, this level of, let's say, betrayal, right? When a bigger level of betrayal comes around, be like, okay, damn, you got me, all right? I feel it deep there in the gut. My heart got ripped out, whatever it may be. But then that's when you go and you create that observer. You try to create the separation. You ask how much of what, where, changing at what rate. You basically practice the concentration, the sensory clarity, equanimity. Through observation, you now have separation. Through observation, you now have control. Through observation, through going in, to staring it in the eyes, you now have mastery. Mastery. Ladies and gentlemen, so how are we going to take this out, okay? Since I'm in a very sing-songy mood, let me give you a half of this one is called Heavy Dub, also not released. I give you guys the hot takes over here of unreleased tracks. How does this one go? What key am I going? Listen when it papa. Listen when it comes to dub, I want tell ya. Read them off in my shit up the right way. No room for no flip, no flop, and no failure. Comfy nice the place like Tipper Irie. The heavy monster dub. The people in the dance with rhyme and with reason. Comfy nice the... You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? The people in the dance with rhyme and with reason. Babylon, I look at them with dismay. Cause everything has got its time and due season. Comfy nice the place like Tipper Irie. Give me the very essence. I put the... You know, not gonna give you the whole thing. Not gonna give you the whole thing. Another piece, but this one is by, I think this is the Damon Marley track, right? Christ feed the multitude with only one loaf of bread. Poor people, there is something for you. Don't let the pressures of the system get up on your head. Poor people, there is something for you. Mankind cares not for his sisters anymore. Still there is something for you. Written in the book of life, we shall live forevermore. There will be something for you. Rasta works are manifest and it a blossom and a bloom. Nature always take its course, the tide is rising with the moon. It only take a spot to put a fire to the fuel. What is hidden in the dark shall be revealed so very soon. Tell Pharaoh free the prisoners from the dungeons and the doom. Heard that? Tell Pharaoh free the prisoners from the dungeons and the doom. Later.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wicked, there is beauty to behold. Be fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the thorn. The sweat of the weary brings us close to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. Change be aligned, it's divine. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. Run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come we get it. On the shore, relentless in the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls, the spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest, the cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand, stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within.